This week's NXT episode was actually pretty solid. We had a lot of fast paced and high energy matches. The promos and segments throughout this whole show were pretty good too, and they were pretty entertaining. This was a solid show. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching this. Even though I was tired, it was still, keeping me entertained and, interested and intrigued. So that was very good. That was very good. Cause like if you could keep me hooked on a show while I'm like tired, you're doing a good job. That's all I'm gonna say. Cause I was tired today. But anyhow, though, let's get into this review and break down what happened on this week's episode of NXT. So we started off with a match, our first match of the night. It was Wesley versus Joe Hendry, and Trick Williams was ringside, and he was on the announcing team. Trick Williams, whoop that trick, whoop that trick, yeah, whoop that trick, yeah. Trick Williams, he was ringside, and he was on the commentary team, and he was there throughout the match, and it was pretty entertaining. I don't remember if he said much. I don't think I paid attention to that too much. I don't remember if he said much. I think maybe he made a few comments here and there, but I don't remember if he said anything. I could be mistaken, but anyhow, though, he was ringside. And this match was actually pretty quick, but it was decent for what it was. It was pretty quick, but it was good, And that was the theme with a lot of these matches. A lot of the matches on this episode, they were quick but good. But anyhow, though, some highlights from this match. Wesley hit a second rope corkscrew splash on Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry hit a jumping fallaway slam on Wesley. Wesley's group tried to get involved in the match and they tried to interfere. And out of nowhere, Mike Santana comes in to the aid of Joe Hendry and he rescues Joe Hendry. Well, he doesn't get involved in the match, but he just brawls with the group members, He brawls with Wesley's group members, And that's basically what happens. Mike Santana's music hits. He gets a pretty loud pop and he comes out and starts brawling with the group members of Wesley's team. And due to this distraction, Joe Hendry used the opportunity to hit Wesley with his finisher, the standing ovation for the win. And like I said, this match was pretty quick, but it was good for what it was, though. After this first match, we got an in-ring promo from Crucifino. This segment was very entertaining. I enjoyed the promo and I enjoyed the storytelling, the advancement in the story. This was really entertaining to me. So Crucifino comes out. He says, Tony D'Angelo has been questioning his loyalty since Stand and Deliver, NXT's premium live event. So Crucifino calls out the Don, Tony D'Angelo, to clear the air. Tony D'Angelo blames Crucifino for costing him the Heritage Cup championship match, or the Heritage Cup match, period. Crucifino said, you know what, that's all fine and dandy, but you attacked me after the match, though, and it was by an accident. What happened during the match was an accident, but you ended up attacking me after the match. We could let that slide, And then Crucifino started getting really passionate. He said, I left my family, my dream job. I gave up everything for you and to be here. And I've never given you any reason to doubt me. I've never doubted you. And Tony D'Angelo, that right there, that's loyalty. And he starts getting passionate, And then Stax comes out. Stax music hits. And they start playing on like which side is Crucifino going to be on? Is Crucifino going to side with Stax? Is Crucifino going to side with Tony D'Angelo? The Don, And out of nowhere, Crucifino socks Stax in the mouth. He socks Tony D'Angelo in the mouth. He punches both of them, Like one good hook on both of them. And then he stands tall. He says, the only person my loyalty lies with is Luca Crucifino. My loyalty lies with myself. And he walks out. And it was pretty heat. It was pretty entertaining, So he kind of just, broke away from that whole group, that whole, that whole rivalry. He's like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm here for me. And that's all it has been. And that's all it's ever going to be. I'm here for me. And I'm worried about me now. I don't care what you guys have going on between you two. I'm here for Luca Crucifino. I'm here for myself. I'm tired of this. And he walks out. Now, after that in-ring promo, we got a backstage interview segment with the Ruler, Oba Femi, right? So Oba says that, I am the only constant in NXT. I am the Ruler. The bigger names I beat, the more prestige it adds to my title reign. So I'm looking forward to facing whoever wins the number one contenders match later on tonight. And that's basically what he says, He's saying, this is his kingdom. He is the ruler. And it doesn't matter who steps up to him, who it is, who it isn't, what it is, what it ain't. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to beat them and step over them and add them, to his championship title reign. They're just going to be a match. They're just going to be a stepping stone, for his championship title reign. And that's basically what he says. And he says he doesn't have a preference. Whoever wins this match tonight, it doesn't matter. Whether if it's Yoshiki Inamura or Jasper Troy, it doesn't matter. He's going to steam train right through them. He's going to beat them. He's going to show up and he's the only constant. He's the ruler. He's not afraid. Basically, that's all he was saying. But anyhow, though, after this backstage interview segment, we got a Lexis King versus Miles Bourne one-on-one match. And this was a pretty good match too. It was fast-paced and very high energy, like the crowd was behind it. The in-ring moves looked really good. Even though they were like fast-paced moves, they were moving fine all over the place. It still looked really good. And it was still, a really good match. So some highlights from this match were that Miles Bourne used this alligator roll move. He grabbed like Lexis King by the neck and just started spinning on the floor with them. And I think that was like a whole little gimmick for this episode, for the city they were in and like the team that represented the city and stuff like that, or the state and stuff like that. Lexis King hit this crazy drop kick on Miles Bourne. So Lexis King was standing on the ring mat, and he jumps from the ring mat and drop kicks Miles Bourne, who's on the top rope, and it looked pretty cool. Lexis King hit a superplex on Miles Bourne. Miles Bourne hit the angle drop, the Olympic slam on Lexis King. And at the end of the match, Miles Bourne hits a zigzag. I don't know if that's his finisher or not, but he hits a zigzag on Lexis King for the win. And like I said, this was a pretty good match. It was high energy and fast paced, like most, if not all, the matches tonight, And after this, though, we got a one-on-one match. It was Thea Hale versus Lainey Reed. This match was pretty quick, too. It was really quick. But like I said, these matches were quick, but they were good for what they were, They were quick, but like I feel like that's exactly what this show needed, quick matches that were good. Like you give a 5-minute match, 8-minute match, like throughout from start to finish, it's intriguing, it's entertaining, it's attention grabbing, And I think NXT did a really good job of that tonight. So some highlights from this match were that Thea Hale started off this match very aggressive, very heated, She was attacking Lainey Reed, like she was beating her up in the beginning of this match. Like she was aggressive, and she ended up hitting a standing moonsault on Lainey Reed. Lainey Reed hit a underhook shoulder breaker on Thea Hale, and it looked pretty gnarly. It looked painful, It looked. I'm like, dude, what is that? It looked really good. Like that could be a finisher, honestly, but it was a really cool looking move. Lainey Reed hit a running knee on Thea Hale and used the ropes to pin her. So she kind of like cheated in a way, like the heel move where you use the ropes during your pinfall attempt to make sure you win and stuff like that. So Lainey Reed ended up hitting a running knee and she used the ropes to pin Thea Hale. And Lainey Reed defeats Thea Hale. After this, we got a tag team match. It was Sol Ruca and Zarya versus Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. It was a tag team match. And this was a great match too. Both the tag teams, each team, like they got along, and both teams looked really good. Both teams, like they showed up and they showed out, the superstars, the teams, they looked great. The moves, the tag team moves, the chemistry was there. Everything was there. There was so many cool spots and cool moments throughout this match. I really enjoyed this match. I think this was probably match of the night for me, if I'm being honest. This was probably the match of the night for me, this women's tag team match. It was really entertaining. So some highlights from this match were that Tatum Paxley hit a top rope crossbody on Zarya. Sol Ruca hit a X Factor on both Paxley and Izzy Dame. There was this crazy spot where Zarya gorilla presses Paxley, so she picks her up over her head, keeps her there, and Sol Ruca climbs on Paxley's back, who's being gorilla pressed by Zarya, like Zarya's holding her up, and then Sol Ruca climbs on Tatum Paxley's back, and then she dives onto the outside area onto Izzy Dame. And they called this move the surfboard, and it looked crazy, man. I was like, oh man, this like first time I've seen this, like first time I've seen anything like it, period. I was popping. I'm like, dude, what is this? It looked really cool. And after this, though, some other highlights were that Izzy Dame hit a choke slam on Zarya. Tatum Paxley hit a moonsault leg drop on Zarya, which looked pretty gnarly. So, like, it wasn't even, like, off the top rope or anything. Like, Zarya was just, like, bent over, and out of nowhere, Tatum Paxley comes in, and then, like, from standing position, she hits a front flip leg drop onto Zarya's back. And I'm like, dude, well, her neck, onto Zarya's neck. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. After this, though, Zarya accidentally spears her tag team partner. Zarya accidentally spears Sol Ruca. And Izzy Dame uses the opportunity to hit her finisher on Soruka for the win. And like I said, though, this was a pretty good match. This was a pretty great match. I enjoyed every second of this match, and this was probably match of the night for me. Then we got to our final match of the night. It was Jasper Troy versus Yoshiki Inamura. It was the number one contenders match. The winner gets to face Obafemi in NXT's premium live event. I enjoyed this match, but the competitor that really stuck out to me throughout this whole match, though, was Inamura. Yoshiki Inamura. He really stood out to me. He was so entertaining in the ring. I like his persona. I like his toughness. I like his presentation. He really stood out to me. I like his moveset. Like, I really enjoyed this match, and he really stood out to me. I'm like, dude, he's slowly becoming one of my favorites. I like his moveset. I like how tough he is. He's like, he doesn't step down. He doesn't back down. He's brave. He's courageous. And it doesn't matter who's in front of him. He's going to take the hits. He's going to go blow for blow and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. And I like his presence too. And he was like hyping himself up throughout this whole match and hyping the fans up. It was really entertaining. He's very fun to watch. Anyhow, though, some highlights from this match were that Inamura hit a side slam on Jasper Troy. Jasper Troy hit a sidewalk slam on Inamura. Troy hits like this boss man slam on Inamura, which looked pretty cool. Inamura picks up big Jasper Troy. Inamura picks him up and hits 2 power slams on him in a row. He power slams Jasper Troy twice in a row. And like, let me tell you, Jasper Troy is not like a small man by any means. They said that Jasper Troy was like 6'5", 300 something pounds. Like, this was no small feat. After this, though, after he picks up Jasper Troy and power slams him twice in a row, Inamura climbs onto the top rope and he hits his top rope big frog splash bomb for the win. I don't know what the name of the move is, but that's what the move is. It's a top rope big frog splash bomb. It looks pretty. It looks cool. It looks cool because he gets so much momentum. Like, he starts pulling on the ropes, moving back and forth. Like getting momentum to, just like come down with as much force as he can on his opponent. It looked pretty cool. Anyhow, though, after this match ends, after Inamura pins Jasper Troy, we get a moment where Obafemi comes out. Derula Obafemi. He comes out and he has this stare down with Yoshiki Inamura. And they stare each other down, and that's how that match ends. That's how that little segment ends, and that's how that part of the show ends. And then we get to our main event. It was not a match. It was like a main event promo segment. I guess that's what you could call it. It was a Jordynne Grace in-ring promo. And Jordynne Grace cut a pretty good promo. The only thing that was like maybe like that could have been improved in her promo was probably like the pacing of it. But besides that, though, I really liked what she was saying. I liked how she delivered it. And it was a really good in-ring promo by her. So Jordynne Grace gets in the ring. She grabs a mic and she says, "Getting to the point where I'm at right now is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life." She says that last week reminded her that she strives under pressure. And the bigger the battle, the bigger the win. She said that she never thought she would be in WWE, but in order to be here today, to be where she's at, she had to do something, and she had to become something that they couldn't ignore. She says that at WWE's premium live event Evolution, she plans on bringing the fight to JC Jane, and she plans on dethroning JC Jane and becoming the new NXT's Women's Championship. And out of nowhere, JC Jane's music hits and she comes out with Fatal Influence, her little group. She comes out, JC Jane, Fatal Influence, and Jordynne Grace, they start exchanging words and stuff like that. And then a brawl breaks out. Jordynne Grace starts getting jumped by Fatal Influence and JC Jane, and boom, out of nowhere, Blake Monroe's music hits, aka Mariah May, if you guys know her with that name. Blake Monroe, aka Mariah May's music hits, and she comes out to the aid of Jordynne Grace. So Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe end up clearing out the ring. They end up beating everybody, clearing out the ring, taking care of like the women that were jumping them and stuff like that. And it was a pretty cool moment. And there was a pretty loud pop when Blake Monroe came out, So she comes out, helps Jordynne Grace, and they clear out the women, they clear out the ring, and they stand tall. And that's how the show ends. And that's your NXT episode for this week. And that's how it ends. It was a really enjoyable segment. I really like Jordynne Grace's promo. I really like how she delivered it. I really like how she said it and what she said. But like I said, though, the only thing that was off a little bit was the pacing of the lines. It's like she would say a part of it, right? So like, for example, she's like, "Oh, getting here was the hardest thing I've ever had to." And she takes like a long pause, not like OD long, but like a little bit like a second too long type of thing, you know. But besides that, though, it was an amazing promo. I really enjoyed it. Anyways, though, this was a pretty good episode of NXT. This was a pretty solid episode. It had really cool segments, really good matches, and really good promos. I really did enjoy this week's episode of NXT. I enjoyed the matches, I enjoyed the segments, I enjoyed the promos. It was a really solid show. It had fast matches, fast pace, high energy matches. It was, it was what this week needed, I would say. But anyhow, though, this show was solid. I would rate this week's episode of NXT a solid 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, though, we had some high energy, fast paced matches, some pretty fun matches. It was a really fun show. It was a really entertaining show. We had really good matches, really good promo segments, and really good backstage segments. Overall, I did really enjoy this show. And like I said, I'd rate it a 7.5 out of 10. But anyways, though, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. And thank you for listening to me. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to. And like, comment, and subscribe if you choose to. As always, it's been a pleasure. I'm out.